Why did the most successful crusade turn into one of the most violent and traumatic events in medieval history? And why did every crusade after that slowly collapse, one by one? The answers are not heroic. They are uncomfortable, and they are real. Forget movies, forget school textbooks. This is the Crusades as they actually were: confusing, brutal, and deeply human. A long time ago, in the late 11th century, there was a great movement known as the Crusades. It all began in Europe, when people wanted to help defend Christian lands in the Middle East and reclaim important holy sites. The First Crusade was called in 1095, when a pope urged people to journey to the Holy Land. This led to many knights and soldiers traveling across Europe, facing numerous challenges along the way. As the Crusades continued, there were multiple expeditions, each with its own successes and struggles. Through these journeys, different cultures met and interacted, leaving a lasting impact on history. Why the Crusades happened. To understand the Crusades, you need to understand fear, belief, and power. Not heroes, not villains, humans. At that time, Europe was deeply religious. Most people believed that their entire life and afterlife depended on their faith. Jerusalem was a holy city for Christians, Muslims, and Jews, but it was under Muslim control. European Christians did not suddenly wake up and decide to fight. That is a common misunderstanding. Travel to Jerusalem had become dangerous for Christian pilgrims. At the same time, European kings and nobles were fighting each other constantly. Too many soldiers, too little land, and no clear direction. The Pope saw an opportunity. He promised spiritual rewards to anyone who joined the crusade. This included forgiveness of sins. For people who feared hell more than death, this was powerful motivation. So, the Crusades were not caused by one reason. They happened because of religion, politics, fear, poverty, and ambition all mixed together. Who joined the Crusades? Not everyone who joined was a knight. Some were trained soldiers, some were poor farmers, some were criminals hoping for a fresh start. Some truly believed they were doing God's work. Others wanted land, wealth, or adventure. Many had no idea where they were going. Most had never traveled far from home. They walked thousands of kilometers through unfamiliar lands, languages, and climates. This is important to understand. The Crusades were chaotic. There was no single army, no single plan, just waves of people moving east with different goals. The First Crusade began in 1096. It was the most successful one, which is ironic because it was also the most disorganized. Against expectations, the Crusaders captured Jerusalem in 1099. This shocked the Muslim world. After the victory, Christian states were created in the Middle East. But success came with consequences. Violence against civilians occurred. This created deep anger and memory of trauma that lasted for generations. History does not forget easily. Life during the Crusades was not heroic. It was harsh, uncertain, and often miserable. Most Crusaders lived in temporary camps. These camps were dirty, crowded, and unsafe. Clean water was rare. Disease spread easily. Many soldiers died not from battle, but from hunger, infection, and exhaustion. Food was simple and limited: bread, dried meat, and whatever could be taken from nearby land. When supplies ran out, soldiers looted villages. This happened on both sides. There was no modern supply system. Survival came first. Crusaders who settled in captured lands lived behind thick stone walls. Cities like Jerusalem, Antioch, and Acre became heavily fortified. Life inside these cities was tense. Attacks could happen at any time. Children grew up seeing soldiers, weapons, and fear as normal. Women managed households while men fought or guarded walls. There was no peace in the modern sense, only pauses between conflicts. Life of a Crusader soldier. A Crusader soldier did not live like a movie knight. Armor was heavy and uncomfortable. It caused heat exhaustion. Horses were expensive and often died. Walking long distances in armor destroyed feet and joints. Sleep was short and unsafe. Guards were posted at night because surprise attacks were common. A soldier could die in his sleep from a knife or arrow. Religion shaped everything. Soldiers prayed before battles. They believed dying in battle could mean salvation. This belief reduced fear, but it also reduced hesitation to kill. This mindset is important. When you believe your soul is at stake, mercy becomes secondary. Warfare during the Crusades. Crusade warfare was brutal and direct. Battles were close range. Swords, spears, arrows, and shields. No firearms, no medical care. A wound often meant death days later. Sieges were the most common form of warfare. Armies surrounded cities for months. Inside cities, people starved. Outside, soldiers suffered heat and disease. When a city fell, violence followed. This was normal medieval warfare, not unique to the Crusades. Civilians were not protected. That is a modern idea. Understanding this prevents moral simplification. The Crusades were violent because the medieval world was violent. Mentality of the Crusaders. Crusaders did not think like modern people. They did not see history as complex. They saw the world in simple categories: faith, enemy, duty, sin, reward. Many genuinely believed they were chosen by God. Others followed because everyone around them did. Social pressure was powerful. Some Crusaders lost faith over time. After years of suffering, many realized the war was not holy or glorious. Desertion was common. So was regret. Again, no single mentality, just humans reacting to extreme conditions. Muslim world during the Crusades. Now, let us be clear and honest. The Muslim world was not united when the Crusades began. That is a fact. Different rulers controlled different regions. Some fought each other more than the Crusaders. Early on, Crusaders succeeded partly because of this division. Muslim leaders viewed Crusaders as invaders, not as religious rivals only. Protection of land mattered as much as religion. Over time, resistance became more organized. Muslim leaders and Crusaders. The most famous Muslim leader was Saladin. Saladin was disciplined, strategic, and patient. He united different Muslim regions. This unity changed everything. After recapturing Jerusalem in 1187, Saladin allowed many civilians to leave safely. This is historically recorded. It does not make him perfect. It shows different leadership choices. Relations between Crusaders and Muslim leaders were not always violent. There were truces, trade agreements, even mutual respect between enemy commanders. War did not cancel diplomacy. Some Crusaders lived peacefully among Muslim neighbors during truces. Markets functioned. Knowledge was exchanged. This is important. The Crusades were not constant war. They were cycles of conflict and calm. Cultural interaction. Crusaders learned from the Muslim world. They adopted better medicine, mathematics, architecture, and navigation knowledge. This knowledge later influenced Europe deeply. At the same time, Muslim societies were affected by European presence. Trade routes shifted, cities fortified further, military strategies adapted. Impact worked both ways. Later Crusades and why they failed. After the early Crusades, especially after the First Crusade, things began to change. The initial surprise advantage was gone. Muslim leaders learned how Crusader armies fought. They adapted. Later Crusades had three major problems. First, lack of unity. European kings did not trust each other. They argued over land, leadership, and money. Some crusades were weakened before they even reached the Middle East. Second, distance. Supplying an army thousands of kilometers away was extremely difficult. Food, weapons, horses, and money often ran out. Armies arrived tired and unprepared. Third, stronger resistance. Muslim regions became more organized. Leaders coordinated defense. Cities improved fortifications. Crusader victories became rare. Some crusades never even reached the Holy Land. Others ended in disaster. The Fourth Crusade is a clear example. Instead of fighting Muslims, Crusaders attacked Constantinople, a Christian city. This shocked everyone and damaged Christian unity permanently. That event alone tells you something important. By this point, the Crusades were no longer about faith only. Politics and greed had taken over. Decline of the Crusader states. Crusader states in the Middle East were fragile. They depended on constant support from Europe. When support slowed, they weakened. Local populations did not fully accept Crusader rule. This made long-term control impossible. One by one, Crusader cities fell. Acre, the last major stronghold, fell in 1291. That marked the effective end of Crusader rule in the Holy Land. No dramatic ending, no final victory, just slow collapse. Economic effects on Europe. Here is a fact many people miss. The Crusades helped change Europe economically. Trade increased between Europe and the Middle East. Spices, silk, paper, and new technologies entered Europe. Italian cities like Venice and Genoa became wealthy by transporting goods and soldiers. This wealth weakened the old feudal system. Money became more important than land. This shift played a role in the later rise of cities, banking, and eventually capitalism. So yes, the Crusades failed militarily in the long run, but they accelerated economic change in Europe. Intellectual and scientific impact. Europe learned from the Muslim world. This is not opinion, this is documented history. European scholars gained access to medical texts, mathematics, astronomy, and philosophy preserved and developed by Muslim scholars. Hospitals improved, navigation improved, education slowly expanded. This knowledge later helped fuel the Renaissance. At the same time, the Muslim world did not benefit equally. Constant warfare damaged cities and trade routes. Some regions never fully recovered. Impact was uneven. History always is. Psychological and cultural memory. This part matters, even today. The Crusades left deep memories on both sides. In Europe, Crusades became symbols of religious duty and heroism. In the Middle East, they became symbols of invasion and destruction. These memories were passed down through stories, books, and education. Over centuries, facts mixed with exaggeration. Modern people often misunderstand the Crusades because they judge medieval behavior using modern morals. That is intellectually lazy. The medieval world was violent, religious, and unstable. The Crusades were a product of that world, not an exception. Final reality check. Here is the uncomfortable truth. The Crusades were not purely evil. They were not noble either. They were human. They were driven by fear, belief, power, ignorance, and survival, just like most wars. If someone tries to sell you a simple good versus evil story, they do not understand history. Common myths about the Crusades. Let us destroy a few popular myths. If you repeat these myths in your video, informed viewers will stop taking you seriously. Myth 1. The Crusades were only religious wars. Wrong. Religion was the language, not the only cause. Power, land, money, and politics were always present. Medieval people did not separate religion and politics like we do today. Myth 2. All Crusaders were knights. False. Most were poor, untrained, and desperate. Knights were a minority. Many Crusaders never held a sword before. Myth 3. The Muslim world was united. Incorrect. Internal divisions helped the Crusaders at first. Unity came later, and that is when Crusader power declined. Myth 4. The Crusades ended suddenly. No, they faded slowly. Interest, money, and belief collapsed over time. What the Crusades did not cause. Be precise here. The Crusades did not directly cause modern terrorism. They did not create permanent religious hatred by themselves. They did not stop scientific progress in the Muslim world alone. These are lazy explanations. The Crusades were one factor among many in long historical processes. Oversimplifying makes your content shallow. How the Crusades are misused today. This is where people mess up badly. Modern politicians, extremists, and online commentators often use the word crusade emotionally. They pull it out of context to justify anger or violence. That is historical abuse. Medieval crusaders were not thinking about modern nations, modern religions, or modern borders. Applying medieval motives to today is intellectually dishonest. As we've given you this brief overview of the Crusades, consider this a teaser. We're creating a dedicated playlist focused entirely on the Crusades. In the upcoming videos, we'll delve into every detail, exploring the complexities and the broader impacts of this historical period. By following this playlist, you'll gain an in-depth understanding of the Crusades, with each video building upon the last, ensuring a comprehensive and nuanced perspective.